with the methods. So what is a method? Well, this is the functions that are defined inside a class. In Java, if we ignore the very last versions of Java, you cannot define a class outside you cannot define a method outside a class. So every actual function method is at the end of the day eventually a function of an object. And what is this? Well, basically it represents the actions of a class, of an object, like a human object. What are their actions? A human can walk, eat, run, speak, sleep. So these are our functions that we can define for our program. And it has this kind of a syntax, which is first the public. Well, we'll see that in the following slides. It doesn't have to be always public. It is just about accessibility. Who can access that function. Then the return type, which is if it is returning any data, what is its type? Is it integer, double? Is it returning another object? Maybe that's also possible. Or maybe nothing. Then if it is nothing, then we will say it is void. Then the method name. Then between the parentheses, we define the parameters of that function. Again, different than the Python. In Python, you don't care about the data type of the parameter. You can just say ABC, whatever it is. But in Java, even for the parameters, we need to say that, okay, the first one is integer, second one is double, third one is also integer. So it is important to define their data type. And then we will write whatever we need for that function. And if it is returning something, if it is not void, then we should be ensured that the function is returning that value. So this is also important that we should use this return as a keyword, and then whatever value we are returning in that function. And in object-oriented programming, we say that, okay, objects have a state and a behavior. So what is the state? Well, state is actually defined on the attributes. Again, let's say that a person class, like that person has an age, for instance, like his age is 30, and then maybe his age becomes 31. So the status of that object is changed, and maybe the actions might change also based on the attributes. So we can use those. We can, in our also function definitions, we will always consider about those attributes. But of course, the other one is the behavior, which provides which are the actual functions that we define the behavior of that class. And when we are calling a function of an object, again, what is the syntax? Well, we first create the instance of it, with one exception if it is not a static method. I will talk about it later on. For now, let's ignore what a static method is. So we create an instance of that object, like rectangle R1 is equal to new rectangle. Then we can call its functions through that instance, like R1, which is the name that I gave for my object. Then I put dots, and then I can call the functions that I would like to call, I would like to call. Do you have any questions so far? All right. And the other one is the method visibility. So again, we have this public or private. Again, if I make it a private, it means that people will not be able to access it from other Java classes. So if a function is private, it means that I can only use it within that Java file. But if it is public, it means that everyone can access it. Anyone can use that function. So you might ask, okay, why this is needed? Like, why am I writing a function that is private, that can be only used within that Java file? Well, there might be many different scenarios, but mostly, let's say that you develop a web page, like you will provide some data, and then you develop an API, so people will get data from that one, like ChatGPT. So you can use ChatGPT through an API, so that you can literally, within your code, you can send a prompt and then get the data. So basically, OpenAI provides you an API in which you can call functions. So those functions are the public ones, so everyone can use it. But like most probably, ChatGPT within that class, they should have also some private functions that will not allow us to reach. Like maybe there's some bank account operations for the account subscription. Maybe some more technical details that we should not know. Then they do it private, and then when they share the API, we will not be able to use those private functions, but we will be able to use only the public ones. So it is also useful to hide your data or hide your functionalities. So this is why we might need also a private function. And there is one important term which is method overloading. What does that mean? To understand that, first we should describe what is a signature of a method. What is that? Well, when I'm creating a file, let me open actually my my computer is a little bit slow today. Okay. So for my class, I might need probably I will define many different functions. Like I can say, for instance, maybe a print function, okay, in which it will print some regular message about the rectangle, okay? It will say this is a rectangle, whatever it is. Then, well, maybe I need one more print class in which I will say, okay, this is for a regular print message, but in this one, I would like to have one, a person name first, or maybe I will say, okay, this is a more fancy message, whatever it is, okay? At least it doesn't have a typo like here. Anyway, now the thing is, okay, I have two functions. Both will print some message. But I cannot give exactly the same name for both. So I can of course change it, like this is the fancy printing part, whatever it is. Then this will be solved, okay. But the reason that it doesn't allow me to have it, they say that its signatures are same because their names are same. So you might say, okay, their names should be different. But then the thing is, okay, I don't like this fancy print. Maybe I need one more print function, okay. But in this one, I need a variable, okay. Okay, then in which I'll just print maybe hey, and then name, and then this is my rectangle and so on, whatever weird message you want to give. Now the thing is, now if you notice that I'm not getting any error for these two. In the beginning I got an error for this one, which is if I say print, now I'm getting an error. It says that basically you have two functions with the same name, with the same signature. Okay, this also has the same name, that's also print, but their signatures are different. Why? I have a parameter with this. So now Java thinks that, okay, their signatures are different. One of them is print, the other one is print, but with a parameter. So Java can understand when I call these functions which one I meant. Like if I give a string parameter, I meant the second one. If I didn't, then I meant the first one. So Java can differentiate which I meant, so it's not making the problem. But in this scenario, it makes the problem. So similarly, if I use another message for this, then again, now it will make it a problem with this one because now their signatures are same. Like they have the same name and their parameters are also same, so that it will say that, okay, I cannot know which one you meant. Is it this upper one or the lower one? But if I make it like, okay, this is not a string, it is an integer. So one of them has a parameter with a string, the other one has an integer. Then Java will say, okay, now I know it. When you don't put any parameter, you meant this one. If you put a string, you meant this one. If you put an integer, you meant this one. So then their signatures are different. So Java does not allow to have multiple functions with the same signature. And then what is a signature? It is the name and the parameters. And when I'm talking about the parameters, well, you might think it in this way. Let's say that this also takes another one, and this also takes another one. So now, Java is still not making the problem because the order of the parameters are different. Like they are both their names are same. They are taking both two parameters, and they are taking strings and integers as a parameter, but the order is different. The first one is string, the other one is integer. In the other one, the first parameter is integer, the other one is string. So the order of the parameters is also important. So to wrap it up, what is the signature of a method? Name and order and the parameters. But when we are talking about the parameters, the data types and the order should be also same. If all of them are same, then their signatures are same, and Java will not allow you to do that. But if we have this kind of a thing, like with the same function name but different parameter types, this is called message overloading. So method overloading. So I overloaded one method. What is a method? A behavior of a class, like the printing part. Printing behavior of that class, but I overloaded that. What does it mean is I am using the same name for one behavior, but with different variants of it. So this is called overloading. And why is it important? Why is it a good thing? Well, it's hard to find a name always for the same for a very particular behavior. Like at the end of the day, it's just printing with a string and integer. Helpful for us to do this overloading so that I can use the same name but with different parameters, so that I don't need to struggle with what type of name I should give. I think I covered everything here, and then to be sure first. Yes. Do you have any questions so far? Yes, please.
Does the access modifier public-private also affect the signature?
Oh, that's a perfect question. And no, it doesn't. So, thank you for that question. That's a very good one. So if I had same name, same parameters, but their access modifier is different, it will be still a problem. So the signature does not cover the access modifier. Actually, also it's also about the very following slide, which is it also doesn't cover the return type. So now this part might be hard to memorize. Like I have the same name, and their parameters are same. Both are not taking a parameter, but their return type is different. One of them is returning char, the other one is returning double. If this is the case, Java will make it as still a problem. Will not run it. So because signature does not cover the return type, even though you might say, okay, isn't it obvious? Like they are different, they are returning different values. Well, Java will not be able to understand what you meant. When you just say get weight, I can show it demonstrated. Again, I'll just open my Eclipse one more time. And then let's say that I have this function, public void f. Its content is not important for us, okay? So I'll just leave it empty. And then I'll have another one which will return an integer, same name, but it will just return, again, content is not important for us, so it will just return 0. Now it is making the problem, their names are same and the parameters are same. Well, you can say, okay, making the problem? Isn't it so obvious? Well, the thing is, I can actually just run this part, okay? So I'll just, to be able to run it, I will just make it commented out. So I can call this f function, whether it returns a val or not. This statement will be still valid. So basically Java will not be able to understand what I meant. Am I meant the void one or the one that returns integer? It's not clear from this statement. So that's why it's not allowed. So in short, yeah, access modifiers and also the, so if you just say that their return types are different, they should be different. No, it's not how it works. It just checks the names and the parameters. Any question so far? All right. And the constructors. Now, this part is also very important. What is a constructor? Have you seen it in Python? The constructor methods?
The add before the add before the
Calling the class.
From the class. So what is a constructor? So this is like a special method that is used when we create the instance of an object. Like, let's say that you want to buy a car from that, and then the car is manufactured in a factory, okay? Then you take it as 0 kilometers on that. This is the factory manufactures it based on its constructor function. Like, how should it be done when you first created that, when you first manufactured that car? Maybe its brand, the color, all these things. Yeah, you have to specify that first. Maybe the engine size, whatever you want to put. And then once you buy the car, you can modify it. You can do that and so. But what is it's the very first how you want to create it in the beginning. Like in our rectangle. We said that rectangle R1 is equal to new rectangle. So I'm creating that rectangle. But do I need to say something? Do I want to make some specification for that? Maybe whenever I say rectangle, set its width to 5 and height is 10. Okay? So I want to do this. When I first create it, this is the function that we call. So what does it mean is when we call this new method, rectangle 1 is equal to, R1 is equal to new rectangle, then that constructor will be called whenever we call this new method. But of course there are much more details. Now let's go on that. So how can I define a constructor? Well, first, the constructor name should be exactly the same with the class name. So if it is my class, then it should be my class. Then the constructor method does not return anything. It's not a void. It doesn't return any integer, double, or so. So there's nothing that it returns. Then it can take some parameters or not. It's up to you, up to us. And then we will implement it how we would like to implement. And when I'm creating a class, I can have multiple constructors. So, but each of them should have a different parameter. Because otherwise their signatures will be same, and then we will not be able to do it. But I can have one constructor without any parameter. This is like the default one. So when you want to buy this, I don't know, let's say Toyota, this is its default value, default color, default configuration is this. But, well, maybe you want to change the color when you first, then, yeah, you can put some parameters like, okay, this should be, I don't know, this version, it should have this color, this size, and so on and so. So you can specify that when you are creating that class. So therefore, we might put some multiple constructors in that. And, well, you might say that in our rectangle class, we can also go to that one in it. Okay, I'll just show that, then we'll stop. In our rectangle class, we didn't define any constructor. So how can it be? Well, if you don't define any constructor in a class, then Java automatically creates you an empty constructor, which is basically this public rectangle. Then that doesn't take any parameter, and inside that it doesn't do anything. If you don't put this, Java will put you for you. And it is almost 2:50, so I should stop. This is the class for today. Thank you for your attention.